What's good, people? It's Dan with the Corporatethief Beats, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I haven't really kind of made any kind of tutorial videos in a while. I've been making a lot of beats lately, and a while back I created this little guide because I was getting these questions over and over again on my site, and a lot of people are confused about leasing beats. Now, this is not the most perfect guide. You should always read the terms and conditions of every music producer when you're purchasing beats online. But this is just a general kind of guide to maybe to take a look at before you purchase beats online. And I just kind of put it together based on questions that either came in from my site or were queries that were found through my site. And I'll just go through some of it. So the reason why people release beats is like, as I say in the very first paragraph of this article, it's like hiring a music producer straight up front, straight up is not easy. Like it's not the easiest thing. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and especially when you're starting off. If you're an up and coming artist and you haven't got any fan base or anything like that, you're taking a huge risk, a financial risk, on investing in a music producer when you don't even have the audience to recoup the costs of that music producer. So maybe like getting a music producer, in-house music producer at the start of your career when you don't have an audience isn't the best thing. Maybe later on, if you have tons of fans and you have an audience that's hungry for new songs, yes, get an in-house, get a dedicated producer if you have the funds to pay for it. And you can lease beats from them, or you can maybe kind of have a commission-based kind of structure where you can work with them. So a lot of questions that I usually get: what is a beat lease? And the way I kind of tend to put it is, it's like renting a piece of music for a certain period of time between you and the music producer. Now, the music producer can continue to sell that piece of music over and over again to other artists. But the best thing about it is that it's a very low barrier to entry. The most beat leases will start from between 10 or from $5 up to like $100. And what it does is, you can use beat leases and profit from them by using your songs and them, creating songs with them and uploading them to streaming sites and whatever, making music videos, doing events and stuff like that. But what a lot of music or rappers tend to do, or musicians or even YouTubers tend to do, is that they kind of use the leases to help them build an audience. So rather than have like buying a bunch of exclusive beats for like thousands of dollars and not really having the audience in place at the start, you're taking a huge risk. So basically it's a very low risk. You can like lease maybe like 10, 20 beats for like no more than $100, $200, and you can kind of create maybe a couple of different albums with those 20 beats. So I mean, you can make 5 or 6 different mixtapes, etc. And it gives you time to develop as an artist. That's the one great thing about it. Now, it's always different terms in every music producer's there's a different terms to every music producer's license. So you should always see the length of time a music producer has. So like, how long is a music producer's lease last for? It depends. It'll all depend. It's up to you to do your due diligence. Due diligence. I can't even say it. To see how long that agreement is. And never purchase anything if you don't see an agreement up front. It's just common sense. It's like you wouldn't rent a car or lease a car unless you've seen the agreement that you were signing. It's just always kind of ask them to see the lease agreement up front. It's just good practice as well. Most producers have like a beat store, and then they have like little kind of chart showing stuff. But you should still look at the kind of lease agreement, because you might have only for a couple of months, you might have it for a year, you might think it might be for 4 or 5 years, and it's actually only for a year. So it's up to you to kind of do your kind of homework before you actually purchase a lease from a producer. If I purchase a beat lease, does this mean that there's no tags on the beat? No, not in all the cases. So again, it varies on different producer to producer. To me, once someone has invested a little bit of money into the Corporatethief Beats, I'm happy with that, and I'll remove all tags. That's just my way of going. I don't think it's right to, once they've kind of invested in you, I always make sure the tags are removed. And that's just standard practice for me, but some producers don't. You'll hear a lot of industry producers, and they will say like a lot of the big producers, like you can see like Murder Beats at the start of all of his beats, or anything will say the tagline "Murder on the beat" because it's not nice, stuff like that. And you'll hear like other producers as well. I can't think of them all off the top of my head at the minute, but they will have those tags in it, and that's just an agreement that they've set with the artist. So if you're releasing beats online, will it have a tag in? It all depends on the producer. But you know what? Not every music producer is going to be a fucking dick about it, alright? So just go ask them if they can take it off if you purchase the beat. If you've paid money, most of them will actually be sound and actually will help you. Some of them really want to get their name out there as a producer, and that's fine. That's their mantra. That's their prerogative, and maybe you just have to respect it. But if they have the beat tag throughout it, that's just ripping you off. If they have it at the very start, fair enough. But you can always negotiate with them. Ask them if they'll remove it for you. So it's just kind of common sense. But some producers won't have that tag, some will. So just kind of taking a look at what type of beat leases that are commonly found on beat sites. There's 4 kind of ones that I've kind of seen over and over again. Lease licenses. So you might see the basic MP3 license. So this is like the lowest quality version of the instrumental. It will have an MP3, usually between 224 kpbs to 320 kpbs. That's just the quality of the format of the file, and that's usually kind of the framework for most producers. So if you're going on BeatStars, SoundClick, and Airbit, all of those websites, or even independent music producers, most of them use those tools anyway. Most of them use the kind of beat stores, which kind of force people to set up a good quality file in the first place. So it's always good practice as well to kind of give credit to the producer as well, wherever it's distributed. So it's just kind of just good practice. So you can monetize the beat without having to pay them royalties. You can upload it to most streaming sites, and I just kind of take a look at the common distribution rights that come with like the basic airbit.com agreement, and it's usually between 2,000 and 5,000 streams. Now, like I said at the start, you just have to look at the producers, the music producers agreement. Certain sites have a kind of a default, if they're using like the Airbit player, the SoundClick player, or the BeatStars player. I'm sure there's other players out there, I just can't think of them at the minute. To Import is another one. I'm not sure what their licenses are in it, default licenses, but I'm used to seeing the ones from BeatStars and Airbit. And usually with the basic distribution rights, you kind of get the MP3, you get an agreement, and you get between 2,000 and 5,000 streaming rights. And you can upload it to Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, but a lot of the time it just kind of varies. Now, there's no real way for music producers to kind of police the distribution limits. There's no real way, not that I know. Maybe there's some other way out there, but from my perspective, I can't find any way. So like, it's up to you to kind of play by the rules, but it's most producers basic MP3 rights between 2,000 and 5,000 streams, and it's like distribution units as well, so if you actually sell copies of it as well. And some of them actually give you kind of rights to kind of use it in a music video. Some give it rights to use it in play live at shows as well. So they usually come with a performance rights as well. And that's all the kind of thing in a basic MP3 lease. With a premium WAV lease, this is kind of the middle tier. This is where you get like a much higher quality file. You usually get the MP3 and the WAV file, and this is a much. This is like what CD quality used to say it was. Where the WAV kind of came from. It's a much higher quality sound. You'll notice the difference between it as well. I remember years ago when I used to upload my beat videos to YouTube, the quality was really bad, and I was always wondering why it was so bad. And the reason was because I was actually using an MP3 in the video, and whatever kind of issue between the video and YouTube, the MP3 quality really sounded terrible. But I noticed once I started using WAV files, it was just much better. I could, maybe it's because I've been working like or studied music for a long time. I went to college and studied music production and all that. Maybe it's because I'm just really listening to very subtle differences. But I noticed like the spread of the music was much better with a WAV file. I noticed that when it's on like other kind of sites as well, like you notice like Twitter has probably the worst audio quality ever. And if I have to be honest, Instagram isn't that great either. Because I even noticed like very good industry artists, when they upload it to those kind of, even if you're using a WAV file, it's not going to be great. But I've noticed that it's not perfect on those two sites, but Facebook and YouTube, you use a WAV file in your video, it's pretty pristine, especially like sites like Spotify and all the kind of audio streaming sites. They'll probably want the best quality that you can provide them. And if people are paying for your music, you really want to give them the best quality as well. Again, the kind of streaming distribution rights will be much higher as well. Usually between 5,000 and maybe 20,000 to streaming rights, distribution rights as well. The file is much lot larger as well, so it gives it a lot more headroom as well for higher quality audio. I just had a little note there. It was pretty cool actually. The MP3 was created to store audio without taking up too much space. The advancement of the MP3 player and the iPod popularized the MP3, and due to its convenience of file storage. But with that kind of compression of the audio, it really just ruined music quality. That's why we had Neil Young trying to create that little pod player one time as well. He really wants to improve the audio files. He even thought WAV wasn't even good enough, and he was trying to come up with a more higher quality audio file. But it never took off really. It's just more convenience is always going to be a factor. So it's between the MP3 and the WAV really at this moment in time. And you usually get higher distribution rights as well. And obviously it varies between producer to producer, and you probably get the options for music videos as well. And so what's the main benefit? Higher quality audio. Yeah, I've already mentioned that. It stands out better on most of the streaming sites. Boom, I've just kind of hit that in the head. Glad I mentioned that. A lot of the mastering will be carried out on a higher quality WAV file as well. So even if you like use an MP3 and you're recording into something that's not perfect quality, especially in a music studio. If you're recording into like if you're on a big massive desk and you're using all the fancy tools, recording into an MP3 isn't really the best. By right, the best quality to get is to get the raw kind of files, and I'll get to that in a minute, and then get right into the desk. Because if you go to the studio and you're kind of using all these kind of crazy tools and stuff, it won't really matter if you've got crap audio in the first place, or you might just be able to use the MP3 or the WAV file just to kind of test the water. But the WAV file, it wouldn't be too bad, if I have to be honest. It wouldn't be the best, but it wouldn't be too bad. But it seems to be one of the more popular choices. You'll notice that if you're doing a lot of home recording, that would be a massive difference between the MP3 and the WAV. Just for argument's sake, we kind of have a little piece from our Airbit agreement as well. At the Corporatethief Beats includes is one commercial recording, distribution rights up to 5,000 copies, 100% royalty free, 5,000 paid performances, 2 music videos, and the beat is untagged, 7,000 audio streams on most of the audio stream sites. And that is subject to change, so don't hold me to that. And just to let you know that every producer has different distribution rights. Just read the lease agreement with the music producer. And just before the final one is the platinum tracked out stems files Lease, and this is there's kind of 2 of them. I'll kind of get to the other one in a second. So it's basically MP3 high quality WAV and the tracked out stems. So they're the individual files that are created by the producer. So it might have a kick drum, it might have a snare, it might have automation, it might have all the cymbals, all the kind of perks, all the individual sounds, audio, everything in individual files. Now the main reason you would need this is if you wanted to change the production of the song, or if you wanted to control the automation within it as well, or if you noticed that the producer who made the beat was trying to stand out, so you would purchase the beat, and they kind of had melodies floating in and out, and you were like, I don't really like that, I need to pull that down so I can you put in some ad-libs instead. It gives you much more control and much more versatility in the production stage. A lot of the time, if you were working with an engineer, they will ask you for the track outs because they will have so much more control and how to shape your song. If you're just buying a beat from a producer online and you've made a song to it and you have your own in-house engineer, it's up to you. Maybe you can go back to that producer and see if they can do it for you as well. But they usually give you the track out stems, so it's all the individual files, and you can ask for like the untouched version, so you can ask for actually complete raw files, and they're like unprocessed files, so they might just take all the effects that producer put on and leave them completely raw. You can ask for those, or you can have the processed files, which will be the effects that producer put on. And it's up to you. It depends on what your song will be. Now, I noticed when I started off making beats, I would have like I would start playing way too much with the automation and stuff, and it was good practice. I needed that when I was starting off. But getting into it later, I noticed that people wouldn't purchase my beats because I tinkered with it too much. And the best way to kind of stop or to get people to purchase these was kind of keep it absolutely basic as hell. And I know it's kind of anti-production, but it gave the artist more freedom. And at the end of the day, that's what my goal was. My goal wasn't to make me sound like Kanye West or Timbaland or whatever. My goal was to sell beats and actually get people to purchase them. And the best way was to just give them an idea so they can write a song. And then they can come in with automation. Now, don't get me wrong, I still kind of put in and like drop a snare out here and there because it's still kind of hip hop, and it kind of adds to the flavor of it. What I always say is that once I have the track outs, I can always go back and change it. So if I've kind of tinkered with it too much, they can always buy the track outs and kind of go, well, no, I don't want the snare to go out there. I don't want the synthesizer floating that much in the mix. I don't want effects kind of being that loud coming in at the chorus, and I want to change all these bits around. They have that option with the track outs, tracked out stems. So obviously the benefits with the track outs is more control over the creation process, and it gives the artist the ability to manipulate the instrumental according to specifics where the song is written over the instrumental. It also gives the engineer a whole load of freedom as well. Engineers, if you come into a studio with tracked out stems, engineers are just going to love you. It's just going to be so much easier for them. So what's the price range for trackouts and platinum trackouts? It's usually between $27 and $200. It depends on producer to producer. Some people kind of just don't really mind and they'll just sell beats their way. I dibble and dabble from different price points over and over again. Never hold me to this video to my price points. Always do your due diligence when you're searching for producer to producer. But usually the common kind of trackouts I will see with online music producers is between $227. And for and they usually give you all of them. They give you the tracked out files, the WAV file, and the MP3. They usually do. And more common lease terms will include a lot more distribution rights, maybe between 10,000 copies and or streaming rights, and between 20,000 as well. And it's usually 10,000 paid performances, royalty-free music, and the ability to use it in a music video. And obviously, sometimes the beat is untagged. Ask the producer first if it's untagged before you purchase anything. That's just a word of warning to any music or any hip-hop artist out there. Is the platinum tracked out stems the same as exclusive right? No, this is a massive this was a massive problem with when rap artists come to my site. They used to think because they saw maybe the trackouts were like $50 on my site, they used to think that was the exclusive because they'd probably seen the third tier on another producer's site was exclusive rights, and they think like, oh, I've just purchased that. So no, but this goes back to doing your research before you purchase anything. Platinum tracked out stem rights does not mean exclusive rights. That is a huge no-no. So you should always, the producer will always maintain ownership of the instrumental and can continue to sell the instrumental over and over again to the artist, even with platinum tracked out stems. So even if you're paying $200, even if you're paying $500 for tracked out files, it does not mean that you bought the beat outright. The main differences between tracked out stem leases and exclusive rights is that technically you're still renting the music from the music producer, but you have much better distribution rights and you have more control over the creation process. But if you purchase exclusive rights, the music producer tends or can no longer sell the beat to another artist. The music producer will always still have publishing rights when it's on platinum tracked out rights, tracked out stems as well. So it's always, just remember that as well. They will always keep the publishing of their own instrumental, not your song, but there's two different publishing there. It's best to kind of do more research on the publishing stuff. Maybe I'm not as versed in the publishing stuff, but I just kind of want to kind of just put it in there anyway, because that's what's on my Airbit one as well. Any of the beats is I continue to have my publishing over my instrumentals, unless it's been agreed between me and an artist. What's the unlimited beat lease? Well, this is a newer kind of license that I've seen. It's like one of the 4th tiers in the online leasing game, and usually they give you the MP3, the HQ WAV, the WAV tracked out files, and the platinum lease or the agreement, and it's the 4th tier. It's more of a modern one, and it's tend for artists with bigger budget, usually between 200 or between 100 and maybe $300, roughly price point between them. And it gives you similar freedoms to the tracked out kind of plan, but it has usually 100% on distribution rights, 100% royalty free, unlimited paid performances, and you usually can get broadcasting rights as well. You just gotta check that with music producers as well, because it usually isn't in that. It depends. Sometimes some producers will give you sync licenses, others won't. You'll also get unlimited audio streams and the ability to pay performances as well. So the final question on that one was, is unlimited beat lease the same as an exclusive rights? Again, the answer is no. Unlimited beat lease is still a lease license, and it might have you might have unlimited distribution rights, but it might be for a certain period of time. It's up to you to kind of do your research and see how long the lease rights lasts for, and the music producer continues still sell the piece of music for a profit as well to other artists. So even if you paid like 300 or 400 bucks for an unlimited license from a music producer, you still don't have the exclusive rights. But it's up to you if that's what you actually, if you have the artist to recoup, or the fans to recoup the reward from actually putting that music out there. I always think if you're going to spend $300 or $400 on an unlimited lease, you might as well see what the negotiating price for that beat would be with that music producer, and always just ask them. Most producers are pretty cool, and they will kind of work with you and see that you're probably more serious than other artists, and you're probably a much better person to actually do business with, and maybe they will kind of cut you a deal on this beat, and so you're more likely to come back to them in the future. And it's always good to kind of negotiate and kind of get out there and actually speak to the producer. Don't kind of just do it blindly. See what you can get from the music producer, and chat with them. Most of them have social media sites. Most of them have their own website. So then again, what is the difference between unlimited license and exclusive beat lease? So what is an exclusive beat lease license? A beat license. So exclusive beat licenses vary from producer to producer. So every producer is going to be different. You usually get the MP3, the HQ WAV, and the track out stems. So you get similar features to the unlimited license. Unlimited audio streams, broadcasting rights, unlimited pay performances, iTunes, etc. All those streaming services. But the one thing is that the beat is usually taken off the website, and the music producer can no longer sell it to another artist. This does not mean that the music producer does not own the instrumental. All of my songs, even if they have the exclusive rights, bar on certain occasions where I've actually negotiated with other artists independently and created a new kind of contract, I usually keep my 100% of my publishing to that instrumental. The main benefit is that I can no longer sell that instrumental to another artist. You keep the publishing, 100% of the publishing of your own song, but I keep the publishing of my music. And it's up to you. You can always negotiate it with a music producer as well. I'm open to negotiation as well. Depends on the artist as well. If the artist has a bigger budget, I will kind of maybe sacrifice my publishing and because I might have a better investment in my business or my online stuff, from maybe a better offer from the beat. It gives you still the ability to monetize your music without having to worry that someone else is going to get the beat. That's one of the big things that people want exclusive. Most rappers don't, or most artists don't actually worry about another artist having a beat. Most of the time they're worried that if they write a song and someone else will take the beat, and then they don't have the opportunity to won't have the opportunity to use it, basically. But if you buy a lease and then someone buys an exclusive, you still have the lease rights based on that contract in that terms. So if that contract was for a beat lease for a year, or if it was 2 years, you still have the rights to use that instrumental based on that contract, even if the exclusive rights has been purchased. But if you read a lot of terms and conditions within most music producers' contracts, they also have it. If you purchase the lease rights, they have the ability to terminate that lease at any given time. So you always have to read the license for every music producer. It just varies from everyone. I can't cover every music producer. Um, so what are the main benefits? Obviously, main benefits is more distribution rights and the more security. So if your song goes viral, the music producer won't sell it to another person, basically. And I remember, like, for an example, I can't remember the producer at the time. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was By Wanda or someone like that. There was like the Forever beat was actually sold or leased to Cardinal Official, and Drake picked it up. So there was like a crossover between Cardinal Official actually had a song actually written to the beat Forever, but he never ended up using it. And Drake found that beat and created the Forever beat with Lil Wayne and Kanye West and Eminem, and so you can kind of see where beats have been passed around in the music industry as well. So it's not uncommon for that to happen in the music industry as well. So you can see why it's a good idea to purchase the exclusive rights of a beat in that kind of sense. But you only should worry about it if you have an audience in the first place. Like, I got artists coming to me all the time, they don't have anyone on any platform at all, and they want to spend £400-500 on an exclusive rights for beats, or maybe £1,000 for an exclusive beat. And I just don't understand why they don't just build an audience first. It's just a waste of your money. I don't mind if an artist just wants to spend maybe $200-300 on a couple of beats, and they have like a little bit of a following. You're wasting your money at the start of your career. You don't need exclusive rights at the very start. Most producers will sell you the beat anyway, but it's not good business. At the end of the day, if you're an artist, it's not good business for your music production or your music career. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's not good business to start. You should be investing in finding new fans. You shouldn't be investing thousands into instrumentals that might just sit on a mixtape site or on Spotify and not get any streams. You should have all the kind of things set up before you start thinking about spending all that money, or even investing in a music producer to make you personal beats yourself. So you can see that most exclusives will go from varying price, from like $50 to maybe even $10,000. I put down $2,000 a year, but that's what I usually see between music producers online. And it will usually, what dictates the price of the exclusive beat will vary due to the popularity of the lease, the promotional value of the beat for the producer. So if you got a producer that's got a beat on YouTube and it's got 50 million views, there's no way he's letting that go for nothing. It's worth more on YouTube than it is the $1,000 that you're going to offer him. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles at the end of the day. Maybe that beat brings him traffic every day, or her every day. It could be a woman as well, sorry. So he or she could have a beat on there and it's getting millions of views, and it could be building traffic all the time. If they sell that, maybe they have to take the beat down. I don't know. Maybe it's incorporated in their contract that they're still allowed to use the beat for promotional value. It all depends. Maybe they will let it go. Maybe they want to see what you can do with it. If you're the artist that kind of pops off, you could probably get them more clout as a music producer. So again, it'll always depend on the price. So what happens if someone buys a beat lease license and I've purchased a non-exclusive license? I think I kind of just answered that a minute ago, but I'll kind of go back over it. This is a common concern from what I hear from hip-hop artists online. While most producers continue to honor the lease license, so most producers will, most of the time you still have you have the lease license for the terms within that. So if you bought it for a year or just 2 years or 3 years, you still have the terms within that, based on it. But then again, certain terms and conditions at the bottom of those lease licenses will give the producer the freedom to terminate the agreement at any given time. So it's just depending on what reason the music producer. So most music producers won't terminate it, but then again, I can't vouch for every music producer online. It's up to you to kind of judge how. Let's say if you have a massive audience and you've kind of just bought a $10 lease, and your song has gone viral and you're making money off it and you're doing shows, maybe you should be considering purchasing the exclusive rights. It's up to you, basically. It's always good that you have a good plan for return on ROI. So if you paid $1,000 for an exclusive beat, you should have a plan on how you're going to get that $1,000 back. Maybe it's from selling merchandise, maybe it's from selling tickets to shows and stuff like that. That's always a good idea as well. Okay. If I download free beats from a music producer's site, is that considered a lease? No and yes. Depends. So if you see some of the beat leases, some of the free beats that are on the Corporatethief Beats, they do come with a very basic MP3 and very basic rights. Some of them do, not all of them. And you'll see that once you're able to download the beat. But majority of them, most of them will have tags. So if you've downloaded a bunch of free beats online and you don't get any contract with it, you didn't get any lease. It's just they just give you the ability to audition it, and it's for personal recording basically. So you don't really have any rights when you just download free beats online. It depends on producer. So let's say like the Corporatethief Beats, we give out 5 free beats if you sign up to the site, and there's a little kind of contract there as well with it. So it's a very basic one, but it just gives the ability for us to showcase our music, and you can profit from it in certain specific terms. So that's a good one that you should always kind of say. I always get that question. If I download beats from Beaker's site, is it considered a lease? Yes and no. So it's always kind of a yes and no answer. But if you actually, the reason why you can download free beats from most producers is because they want you to write a song to it. That's the reason why I give out free beats all the time, is because I want you to write a song. I don't want you to purchase a beat that you never end up using. I don't want you to purchase a beat and want a refund because you've never used it. I only want you to purchase a beat or to download the free beat, so you write a song and then you fall in love with that song and then you purchase the lease rights. I noticed a while back there was a site that I've done years ago, and a lot of people were downloading my beats on there, and they were coming to the Corporatethief Beats to purchase beats then. I kind of forgot about that site, but a lot of people were coming from that site. I can't remember what it was called again now, but it was a beat site a couple of years ago. I can't remember. It was a really popular beat site years ago, but whatever but that was a good site, and that was a good example of it anyway. A lot of people just downloaded my beats. The beats were tagged, so it had a blatant tag in the middle of it, like the corporatethiefbeats.com. So they just went to the corporatethiefbeats.com and said, I found your music on this website, and my beat shop or something, I think it was called. Boom. I remembered. That's going back. And they said that they downloaded my beat from that site and they made songs from it. And it was really popular on that site, actually, at that time. So where are the best sites to buy rap beat leases? I thought you'd never ask. Obviously, shameless plug, this is the Corporatethief Beats. You can always purchase beats from our site. We have tons of beats. Hip-hop beats, beats with hooks, trap beats, type beats, old beats, new beats, last beats, and cool beats. We've got everything in the Corporatethief Beats. We've over 150 plus beats in our player at this moment in time, and we should have a lot more in a week or two. I'm still working on the ones that I have at the minute. So in the next week or two, we should have over 160 beats. And then maybe by the time you're watching this video, we'll probably have over 200 beats on the site. Alternatively, there's other sites. You can go to SoundClick, BeatStars, Airbit, Beatbrokers, TuneVibe. So there's tons of other sites. Just Google rap beats and you usually find a beat maker and type beats. YouTube's probably one of the best places you can find beats as well, because there's tons of beat makers on YouTube at the minute. General advice for rappers buying beats or leasing online: remember that every music producer's terms are different. Read the terms and conditions of every music producer. Some producers have their own lease agreement, so they kind of, just because you bought people on BeatStars before, the music producer still has the ability to upload their own lease agreement, and so it's up to you to do your research before you purchase anything. And then that's just general advice for anything online as well. If you were purchasing or renting a car, you need to know what you're getting into. It was a funny example of this is my brother told me this before. He was living with a guy in college, and the guy got a cold call, from some internet company or a broadband company, and said that he was out of his agreement and that they could save him money by recontracting him. And they ended up recontracting him and selling him TV and selling him like mobile phone purchases. And he thought he was getting this great deal, but he was stuck in this deal for 2 years or something like that, when his college year ended in a couple of months. And he didn't actually live in that house, so he ended up having to pay for broadband in a house he didn't live in for ages. So that's a good example of someone who didn't read the terms and conditions before they purchased something. So that's a good lesson actually, and I'm glad I brought that metaphor up. So don't take any unnecessary risks with purchasing beats from people that maybe don't have their own website. Don't just, if someone is on Twitter and they don't have any kind of rep, or if someone's just on Instagram and they don't have any kind of way that you can kind of contact them, like a website, or if they're on one of the legit websites like Airbit, BeatStars, SoundClick, etc., where you can hold them accountable if they kind of rip you off. Not everyone's perfect online, and then that's just a shame that the way it is. But as well as that, you just never know that if someone's just ripping another music producer off and they're just downloading their beats and reselling them. You never know. The best way to have it is to buy it from someone that actually has their own website, that kind of has a good bit of branding behind them. If you see them like face to face on YouTube, on multiple sites, it's a lot more easy to kind of trust them. And plus, try and look for testimonials. Try to see, like, if you type in PROD, it's usually short for produced, by, and then producer's name on YouTube, you'll usually find other artists, or on Twitter, who's using that music producer's beats, and see if they're legit. That's a good way as well. That's a great piece of advice. Can I monetize my song on YouTube if I purchase a beat lease? Now, this is a huge question that I get from tons of music or rap artists, and that all depends. You have to kind of just look at the music producer. Not all music producers will remove it. If someone has purchased the unlimited license from my site, I remove the monetization on their YouTube channel. That's just me. Most music producers don't. The reason why is because they don't want any other person claiming their beat. And a lot of the time, if you see that I've claimed your beat, just hit me up. But you have to have produced it. If I see you with, like, on YouTube with a tag beat that you just ripped off YouTube or SoundCloud or any of those sites, I'm just not going to remove it. I'm going to leave it up there. And it's up to you to purchase the unlimited license from my site. And that's just where I am. Some producers will, if you buy a basic MP3 lease or a WAV lease, they'll remove it as well. A good indicator of a music producer is professional if they own their own website, has a good bio or background, they produce from other artists, profile photos of who they are, home or business address, boom. Usually a Google My Business account is a good indicator, and I have one of those. Also, I have a knowledge graph on Google as well. Contact details, email, phone, social, um, connected brands. So let's say social profiles, not essential, but it backs up I'm not even gonna say it. So up to date social profiles. That's kind of hard to do, but I agree with it anyway. Good consistency and good communication. Have a conversation with them before you pay with them. Common payment methods. Try use PayPal and Stripe because you can usually get your money back if someone has kind of tricked you. All right, so try use the common methods, PayPal and Stripe. Try and stay away from any kind of MoneyGram or anything like that. That's always a bit sketchy. Okay, or anything that's not legit. Try and always look for the SSL certificates up in the corner of the website as well. That's a good indicator as well. That's the secure. Most people use the beat players like Airbit and BeatStars, so that's always a good indicator as well. Is it safe to buy beats online? Any purchase you make online is so easy to be a scam. So you just have to always, not every music producer is going to be legit. Try and go by these guidelines here. This is a good, you're going to have to trust some people at some times. So that's a kind of a good indicator. If you see all those, if they have their own website, a good bio, profile photos, business, home address, connected brands, up-to-date social profiles, production credits, PayPal and Stripe, testimonials. And like I said before, try and check on other sites like the social sites, boom, if they have the PROD by producer name, you'll probably see that they're a lot more legit than other producers. That's just my go-to. Try and speak to a producer beforehand. Try and see if you can get a phone number or anything like that. See if they'll text you or something like that. I don't really like calling people on the phone. It's just not me. I've just never liked it. Worked a long time ago, used phones, and I don't like it. So a lot of the time I will make artists go on Skype or I'll make them go on Google Hangouts. That's just my preferred method. I don't like being on the phone, and plus it doesn't make any financial sense for us to be chatting about a beat lease from America for $20 if it's going to cost me a phone bill. It's much easier to use Google Hangouts or Skype. Sorry, my mistake. So purchasing beats with a credit card is always a great idea as well, because the credit card company will always make it their prerogative to get your money back if you feel like you've been wronged. Okay. Here's the final tip. One of the best ways you can buy beats online is to buy beats in bulk. Most of these music producers, if you check their little beat players, it should have a little kind of icons where you can find their discounts and stuff like that. So 90% of the music producers out there will be glad to negotiate on price and bulk deals with you. Not all of them would advertise it, so it's up to you to ask for it. At the Corporatethief Beats, at the minute, we had like a massive deal there for a while where you could get like the playlist beatmaker pack where I had like a beat tape of like 20 beats, and you can get all 20 beats for a certain price at a time. I think that deal is ended now, but I'm sure we have a different deal at the minute as well. I think it's like 10 beats for a certain deal or something like that. So one of the biggest advantages of buying beats in bulk is that you can get like all that producer's sound, and at that time, and it might can stay in consistency with your kind of theme of your mixtapes or your albums and stuff like that. Or if you kind of want different flavors from different producers, so if you want like 4 R&B beats, or you want 4 trap beats from certain producers, and then blend them all together to make a kind of tape or a mixtape or an album, etc. You can kind of get a really good idea and get more flavors and better serve your budget as well. At the end of the day, you need to be getting good deals so you can build your following. At the end of the day, you're making mixtapes to build a following, and so you can monetize that following. And that's the kind of the best way. Always reach out to the music producer. Most people are really happy, and you're kind of ego stroking a music producer when you read out them and tell them that they're great. and they will gladly give you a discount. So this was Dan with the Corporatethief Beats. That was the beat leasing guide for up-and-coming hip-hop artists. In-depth resource. Bear in mind, I am not a legal representative, so it's just important that you should all take this just as a guidance tool. Hope I kind of helped to answer some questions anyway. You can download this as well. I think I have a link here somewhere. If I don't, I'm going to put it on now, and I'll have a button at the very bottom where you can download this PDF so you can just kind of keep it to look back over later on. So this is Dan with the Corporatethief Beats. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the video, and we'll check you out in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.